Okay, here, I will.
Okay.
Okay. Again, good evening and thanks to everyone for showing up tonight. It's a joint meeting with the Parks and Rec and the Commission on Homeless special meeting. We've already had the roll call and we will jump into the public comments. And I do have 5 speaker cards. So if anyone has speaker cards that they haven't filled out, please get them in now. They're up here in the front. Actually, I got 7 now. So there actually is some yellow and whites. So please grab them and fill them out if you desire to speak. My first speaker is going to be tonight is going to be Adrian Guzman, followed by Jason Zaragoza. And we are still, remember, we're still the St. Louis City Council. You give you 3 minutes, okay? And we want to get everyone in here, so throw it out, everybody.
All right, hello, good evening. My name is Adrian Guzman. I'm 17. I'm a senior at Pacifica High School. I'm currently vice president of my YDC. YDC is a college-bound youth program that teaches us leadership skills and how to just grow as a person. For YDC, we do struggle sometimes because we do not have enough space to hold our meetings, so we cram like 10, 15 members into little rooms. But we still try our best to do what we can. It's not just us, people at our PAL, which includes 3 different dance teams, which are made up of around 100 dancers, also have the same struggle of just cramming and doing what they can. With the addition to that, we also like to feed the homeless through benevolence feedings. And if I may reveal up in that, I'll give you a little personal connection to that. Like, when I was younger, I would used to fight with my parents a lot. I would argue with them. I would just be the same stereotypical rebel that you guys would see on TV, that kid would be fighting and stuff, and all that kind of, things of that nature, right? So I would leave in the middle of the night, and I would come back, and my parents would be so mad. What would you do if your child was leaving at 2 a.m. at night, in the midnight? Just think of it for a moment. And then you would see him come back, and he'd be like thinking that he's okay, he's still ruling the world. And when I would come back, my parents would still be scared, just saying, no, please don't ever do it again. And once I just left for a week with my aunt, and I came back, and I was ashamed to look at my parents. My parents looked at me and they just said they couldn't handle it anymore. So I thought like maybe they're going to take me to boot camp, I wasn't sure. But they took me to YDC. And at YDC, I just gave it a shot. I didn't know what it was. I talked to my advisor, which was Janice, and she told me all about it. And I said, I'll deal with it, I'll see what I can do with it, I'll just see. I wasn't sure about it. But eventually I built skills. I knew who I was. I became someone of importance. I realized my significance. I started understanding that I do have a voice and every voice is heard. I know now that I am a true leader, and it's a completely different person than who I was a few years ago when I wasn't joining and when I wasn't a part of YDC. So thanks to YDC, I'm like this whole new person. I have the skills to come and talk to you with confidence. I have the skills to come and speak my words fluently. And now look at me now, I'm vice president of my YDC, and it's all thanks to YDC for all they do, all the conferences we attend, and everything they do. So I just want to thank them, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Marty. Next speaker is Jason Zaragoza, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, I want to say that combating homelessness and providing recreation services are vital to the city, so I commend you all for the work that you do. However, I am a bit confused by this meeting. It's my understanding that a commission has never weighed in on CDBG funds before, and that housing has complied with the citizen participation requirements as outlined by HUD, but nonetheless, we're here. The reason that recreation, from my understanding, is in this position is because a previous council decided that some of REC's funding should come from CDBG to begin with, as opposed to the general fund. So this was a previous council's decision. I'm sure that recreation would much rather be not even involved in this process and just be funded through the general fund. My question is, where is the money going to come from? I keep hearing that the fund should come from general fund as opposed to CDBG, but where in the general fund will that money come from? It's not there. So in essence, we're talking about cutting a substantial amount of support from these recreation programs after a previous council put recreation in this position to begin with. Realize this, the Colonia Gym, which my understanding from the presentation a few weeks ago at council, is funded through CDBG funding. And won't realize the importance of that gym in Colonia until that gym is shut down. When $50,000 is cut from the PAL and we send more of our kids out into the streets, we'll see the impact that PAL has on these kids. How many more cuts do these programs have to endure? And despite these cuts, Recreation is still managing to expand programs. I know that PAL, for example, had 16 teams last summer in basketball. They now have 6. Now they have 16. That is an increase of 160 kids participating in basketball at no cost. Last year, PAL's Youth of the Year lived in foster care and in group homes his entire life. And thanks to the YDC program at PAL, he's now at Cal State Northridge. I was headed down the path of gangs and et cetera. I'm now heading into my last year of law school at Loyola Law School, and it's thanks to the PAL program. PAL and Recreation serves over 28,000 lunches over summer, all in low-income areas. And I think that people or council really seems to think that Recreation, from the comments that I hear, is about kids playing games, and that's it. But it's about keeping kids off the streets, it's about keeping them engaged, keeping them active, and ultimately it's about saving lives. Just earlier this week, we participated in a peace walk on the south side, and the community is clearly concerned with gang violence. If you guys remember a Measure O study that was conducted, right at the top of the list were expanding recreation services and combating gang violence. So I don't understand why we're talking about cutting funding from programs that are designed to meet the community's needs. So I urge you all, as commissioners, to hold steadfast with the recommendations as presented by Housing to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zaragoza. Next speaker, Ms. Eileen Tracy, I think.
Yes.
Be followed by Ms. Nancy Patterson.
I'm Eileen Tracy. Well, I'd like to answer the last gentleman's question. Because what I did was I made a spreadsheet. I took the amount of money taken from the proposed general fund in what we see now, and money that was allocated last year because we haven't made the decisions this year. Funds currently used by Recreation for recreational activities is $4.1 million for 1 year. Funds used by Recreation for educational type programs is $1.5 million. So it's really hard for me to hear that these youth think there's not enough money there. That was my first point. Secondly, I know you're supposed to be talking about allocations, but I wish you a lot of luck. I tried to figure out what is the total dollar amount available in CDBG after the admin is taken out for you to play with. The amounts are different on the public notice versus a handout we received at City Council, which admittedly Mr. Wilkins advised there were errors on the numbers. It might be 2.9 million. I just wish you a lot of luck on that. Secondly, Bud has a book called basically CDBG. For those of us who are not lawyers, you can kind of get an idea of how Bud wants these funds to be used. So on page 11.4, they advise you that the amount used for administration and other items should not exceed 20% of the total grant amount. So when you look on the chart that we received at council the other night, in addition to the regular administration that is taken out of each grant, they're asking for CDBG funds totaling $439,406. This is almost twice as much as 20%. So I really give you advice to please find out from someone here like Norma Owens or Kathy Brednicki if this is valid. And then, let's see, what other good news do I have for you? Finally, to reiterate council's advice, Colonia Boxing, Colonia Gym needs to be funded through the general fund. No one is saying don't fund it. Council is saying fund it through the general fund. Same with PALS, $9,000. Needs to come from the general fund. Oh, perfect timing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for wishing us luck. Probably will need Nancy Beckson, please, followed by Mike Rivers.
Good afternoon, my name is Nancy Pedersen. I'm on the board of Community Action Ventura County. And what you're being asked to do tonight is to look at wants versus needs. And you're kind of in the position of a family that is trying to decide, do you pay the rent and buy food, or do we take the whole family to Disneyland for the week and come back to an eviction notice on the door? We really need to start looking at what has to be done, the bare necessities for the people that live in Oxnard. This afternoon, my husband and I were running errands, and just in the short distance that we went, we just kind of circled around our neighborhood, we ran into and saw 5 homeless people. There was a man sitting over near where Produce Row is, and he was kind of slumped up against one of the gates. There were a couple of people sitting against one of the trees. This isn't what we want to see in our city. This isn't what we should be seeing in our city. When we have fragile elderly people, when we have veterans, when we have children who are homeless, who are living in cars, if they're lucky, who are living under bushes, who are living in tree rows, this isn't what we should be allowing to happen. And what you're being asked to do tonight is just really almost impossible. But you really need to start looking at it and just use a hatchet, because we need to make sure that everyone has the bare minimum. Not luxuries for a few and nothing for the rest, but a fair amount of decent living conditions for everyone involved. And I'm not sure that there's money for that, but we should at least try. So as a board member of Community Action, I'm asking you, if you want to see how bad things are, come out and see it. We'll take you around. We'll show you our clientele. We'll show you the people that we try to help. And we really need help from you to get money to be able to do what we can for the people that are out there. So again, I'm asking you to figure out wants versus needs, because that's putting it to the lowest denominator, because that's what you're being asked to do tonight. Thank you. And I do wish you luck also, because I think you have a very thankless task this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mike Rivers, please.
Commissioners, good evening. I should have went first because I hear all these things now and I have responses, and this was going to take 3 minutes, so I don't know that I'm going to get through much. But just to say, I don't think that it's about wants versus needs. I feel like it's about having a well-rounded approach that includes tackling immediate things and then also prevention of things for the future, which is why I'm happy that both of these commissions are here today, because I think we represent that type of approach, a concern for the present, things that are at hand, but also for the future. I've lived in this community my entire life, and for 19 years I've worked with youth with handicaps, learning disabilities, at-risk youth with incredible talents that they have used and sometimes wasted, potential realized not. Growing up myself, I didn't get taken on any trips to Disneyland, but I considered myself middle class. I had a 3.67 GPA. I held a part-time job, played basketball, had my own car. I was a member of ASB, and I was also listed as super senior in my high school yearbook. Behind the scenes, I grew up in a single-parent home. I was a victim of bullying. I experimented with both drugs and alcohol, and was nearly, if not more unfortunate circumstances, a teenage father. So many things that could have gone either way and drastically altered the life that I know today. As an employee of the City of Oxnard Recreation Department, who has spent his last 8 years at PAL, I take pride in working with youth at risk, and a lot of times I'm asked what that means. What I can tell you from my personal experience and observation is that kids at risk are not just kids in gangs, they're not just poor kids or kids with bad grades. Any youth without sufficient supervision, positive activities, role models are at risk regardless of income or GPA. And this is coming from someone who attended the block system and got out every day at 12:20 with too much time on my hands to get into a lot of things that I shouldn't have. There's an organization called the Search Institute, and in 1990 they released a framework of 40 developmental assets which identified a set of skills, experiences, relationships, and behaviors that enable young people to develop into successful and contributing adults. The gist is the more of these assets a young person has, the less likely they are to take part in a long list of negative behaviors. Their understanding and framework for youth development is now the most frequently cited and widely utilized in the world. The assets they've identified are provided by families, neighbors, schools, but also many organizations like Oxnard Red, like PAL, that served more than 4,000 kids last year and provided free programs and assets to youth at risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. No, please don't forgive me for pronouncing this name. I'm not supposed to say Miss Kathy Rudnicki, is that right?
Yes,
I got close?
very good.
Oh, thank you, sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I want to tell you, I hope you will have the wisdom of Solomon, because this is a very difficult situation. My name is Kathy Rudnicki. I am the co-chair of the Ventura County Continuum of Care Alliance. The Continuum of Care Alliance is responsible for coordinating HUD funds in the County of Ventura, including the city of Oxnard. I do want to make some statements to you tonight. First of all, the Community Development Block Grant monies that you are discussing this evening are one of the only buckets of money that we can use to pay for homeless services here in your city. There have been changes to the HUD regulations. I'm sure Community Action will talk about that, but they were made ineligible for continuum of care funds through a decision made by HUD. And staff, when they applied for it, when Community Action applied for ESG funds, Emergency Solutions Grant funds, staff deemed them ineligible for those funds. This is the only bucket of money that we can buy these services from. I do want to make a comment about Mr. Olkin's presentation in front of the City Council. I thought it was disingenuous of him to say that some of these programs had not received funding in prior years. They actually had not been eligible to apply for funding in prior years. Your City Council has made a priority of efforts to develop and to complete the continuum of care system for homeless persons. The homeless service providers have been working in your city for over a year to create a system that will better respond to homeless persons who live in Oxnard. We are trying to help you meet this goal. I do want to point out that in the recommendations made by staff, only $202,000 in community development block grant monies was allocated to homeless programs. No Measure O and no general fund monies have been allocated to homeless programs. $213,000 were recommended for parks and recreation activities, and Parks and Recreation received $11.2 million from the general fund and from Measure O funds. I think that is all I need to tell you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Barbarella, please. Followed by Mr. Tim Hopkins.
Commissioners, Rick Rowland, member of the City Council. As previous meetings on the advice of the City Attorney, I can't take opinions here, but I'd just like to express as a member of the City Council, I appreciate the work that you do on your commissions, both of you, Homeless and Parks and Rec. As a council member, I deserve to have the input that you can generate from your commissions come to the council. I value that. The issue, as I see it, is a disproportionate number of needs to the amount of money. And I must make a correction to one speaker previous. He stated that it was, the gentleman, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I think it needs to be clarified. It was an issue of not wants versus needs. He's wrong. It's an issue of wants versus needs versus money. There is no unlimited money anywhere in the city of Oxnard when you can get it. I hope that both of your boards have been given enough information to prepare for this meeting, because I have questions about that. And where does the money come from? The various speakers that have come up, all of them have added something. But again, as a member of the council, I want to thank you very much for your supply. your effort, the time you put in, the ones that have not been able to attend, the ones that have been a little bit late, you're all worthy of many thanks from the citizens of Oxnard. And when you serve on these commissions and your input is not introduced into the council decisions or given forward, it's almost as if we're insulting you by saying your value for your time has no value. And I don't feel that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tim Hockett, followed by Ms. Bonnie Ziegler.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tim Hockett. I'm the Executive Director of Community Action Ventura County. We've been fighting poverty in Ventura County for 49 years, almost 50 years, headquartered here in Oxnard. Very proud of what we do. I'm a little torn here because we have youth programs as well that we deal with at-risk youth that are in juvenile hall and alternative schools with our Los Compadres program. And I don't like having to fuss over CDBG funds. Our request is simple. We need $80,000 to keep our transition center going. The TATE program, which also deals with transitional youth, they need $25,000. Bonnie needs for food share $50,000 for the mobile food bank program. You'll hear more about that. These are very small amounts of money compared to the larger CDBG pot, and in light of the context of Measure O and the city's general fund. I beg you for these funds because we don't have another alternative. If I were to tell you stories about the folks that we serve, people that are undergoing cancer treatment but are homeless and sleeping outside, you might weigh those needs here and prioritize some. I have a fellow that asked me, you're probably wondering why I'm here at our transition center. I said, no, you want to tell me? And he said, my daughter was murdered and I couldn't cope. And so I collapsed, lost my job, and I've been trying to recover. That's why he was homeless. We've helped him on his way and we're helping him get on his feet. But people get blamed for being poor and blamed for being homeless, and that needs to stop. We need a little bit of support from you, please. The number of resources are pretty tough, and I just went through listening to the city's deliberations on Measure O, which are anticipated to have several $1 million in surpluses by the end of its period of collection. And I think that the city maybe ought to look there for some alternate resources. Again, you heard some specifics from Kathy. I am not happy that the city, again, has put us into a situation where there's kind of a false dichotomy that it has to be youth and recreation against people serving homeless folks. All of us, if we had our normal hats on, would say we appreciate everything that's being done here and all the work that's being done. But I ask you for this limited amount of money that we need to make these few programs operate here. Otherwise, we're going to have disarray in the community with so many homeless people downtown and walking around with nowhere to go, nowhere to shower, nowhere to have lockers, nowhere to go where they can be assessed, face their problems, and be helped on into housing with a key in their hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bonnie Ziegler, please. And while she's coming up, if there's any more speakers, please get the cards in now. Thank you. Next speaker after Ms. Bonnie would be Mr. Abel Magana.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me a little bit of time. And Commissioners, we know it's very difficult for you to take in and listen to the information. First and foremost, we're grateful that you spent some time to do some additional research and to learn more about the situation. I'm here on behalf of Food Share. I've been their Chief Executive Officer for 6 years now. I'm a homegrown Oxnard girl, third generation here, and our warehouse is about 40,000 square feet next to the Juvenile Justice Center in South Bay. We're able to house about 1.2 million pounds of food at any one given time. And here in Oxnard is where the majority of that food goes to. This year alone, we will serve well over 8 million meals. Here in Oxnard, just since last April, we run fiscally, we now have served 53,486 hungry friends here, just in Oxnard. It is where the majority of our food and our resources go to. It is also where the highest area of need is in the county of Ventura. As you've heard, and I think you'll continue to hear, 1 in 5 now that we're helping at these pantries are at risk of being homeless. And so that very fragile and that very vulnerable place our hungry friends and neighbors are, that bag of food makes all the difference in the world. They can't go to a gas station and say, can you cover me for gas? But they can come to a pantry, keep a little bit of money in their pocket, go buy gas with that, get to work, and be able to make their rent or their mortgage payment. And that's really our place within this whole holistic approach. CAP is an integral partner of ours, as well as the dozens of nonprofit partners in Oxnard that we distribute our food through. We absolutely need them, and we ask that you continue to fund them. When you fund Food Share, you fund all of those nonprofit agencies here in Oxnard. Many are faith-based, and that's how we're able to be efficient. 8 cents of every dollar goes to administration and fundraising. Everything else goes to the work of feeding our hungry. We are extremely efficient. 90% of our payroll is all volunteers. This mobile pantry is more than food. It's hope, and it's a connection to the rest of community, whether that's employment, HealthFresh, help with their utility payments, all of the work that the CAP does and our other partners that are here. It's all connected where we can go directly to the community who can't even afford a bus pass to get help. They're hungry, they don't have transportation. Can you imagine what that feeling is like? We're going to be able to go into these communities in Oxnard, hand them a bag of food, a full mobile kitchen, they'll have a hot meal, they'll have hope, and we'll bring our partners with us. We know they're so close to being homeless. What else can we provide them while we're standing there with them? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abel? Yeah. There you are. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David McGowney. I'm the Executive Director for the Oxnard Downtown Management District right here. So I hope I can make these comments cogent. We're dealing with the myriad of issues at this time, not the least of which is working to find solutions and options for those in the most needy in our community here at the homeless. I do have, just parenthetically, some past experience working with CDBG in the world of economic development, so I understand that there's a great variety of applications for these types of funds, that you can use them for many worthy causes, as we've heard. You know, it's not about hopefully taking away from anybody. I mean, I wish there were a lot more funds available from the different pools to go around for all of these programs. But CDBG, I recall, was always that we had very stringent reporting requirements when you were serving those with the least amount of resources and income. So those are the ones that I see being the homeless population out here too, that are at the lowest rung of society. And I can see that we can have the greatest impact if we put more resources to those needs. We've already seen it here in our downtown, where we were down security forces for some time, and we brought in 2 additional police officers. They weren't just there to do, move along these homeless people. These are now focused on finding pathways to homes, to transitional housing, and we've seen some remarkable things with our police department, putting folks that have been on the streets for years, decades in some cases, and finding their relatives and getting them into homes. So I know that if we put some resources toward an issue, that they can find solutions. And what I see here is that the homeless community is lacking right now, and that the funding need has been clearly stated here in their request, and the pool of funds is just not there. Where you're seeing these other programs that do have a great deal of support from the general fund and from Metro. So I would support the additional funding request that was made for community action. I think that would go a long ways towards strengthening our programs, and also everything works better when we're all working in partnership, and this is, I think, a great way to leverage that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Tammy Estrada, please. Followed by Ms. Barbara, Ms. Ortiz.
Good evening, Commissioners. Wow, I'm not real good at this. better on one-on-one, but, and tonight my heart's heavy. I'm in ministry, so my heart goes out to both of these issues. I do a lot of work with homeless. My church is heavily involved with that. I do a lot of work with PAL. I sit on the board for PAL. But tonight I'm talking to you as a person in this community. My concern with funding not going to PAL is more cuts to the program if that doesn't happen. My concern is families who can't afford daycare who use PAL as daycare. Families who can't afford tutors who are able to get tutors for their kids at PAL. Families who can't be there with the kids during the summertime, so they have a place to go where we feed them a meal every day. If funding is not available to this program, funding is cut from this program, your programs that are, all of these programs out here that are asking, they're going to be affected, but not in a good way. It's going to go up. Because I can almost guarantee you that a lot of our families are going to be the ones standing in line for homes, for food, for help. Because you're talking about a lot of single moms, single family households, either moms or dads. You're talking about both parents having to work 2 full-time jobs, not being able to watch their kids. You're talking about a space for kids where they can come, number one, and be safe. They can come and learn skills that are going to make them better people in their community so that they can go out in their community and help programs like these. You're talking about programs that give kids help with homework, that give kids mentors, to give them direction, that teach them how to look for colleges, that give them the ability and skills. We have people coming out of PAL, kids coming out of PAL that are attorneys, you just heard, social workers. We have an actual counselor now. We have somebody who's in medical school to be a doctor. These are kids, police officers. These are kids who came from this program. Everyone talks about this program like it's a want and not a need. I got news for you. If you don't start looking at those programs with the youth as a need, you're going to have more problems with the programs that you're looking for funding for. Not only that, we have how many homicides this year in this city? How much gang issues do we have in this city? You're just opening it up for more kids to have that experience instead of having a positive one. And also, I just want you to think clearly about making these decisions because there's more to it than what's written on a piece of paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I made a mistake that, Ms. Barber, you put down yours for C1. That would be general business. Do you want to speak open now?
I don't think on this one, but I want to speak on this issue.
Okay, so it's not going to be C1. Okay.
It wasn't on the agenda, my apologies.
It's okay.
Yes, my name is Barbara McAfee. I live here in Oxnard. I was at the city council meeting when this item was discussed, and it created some questions in my mind. One, just a point of order. I think there was a potential violation of the Brown Act. The presentation was they couldn't give us the numbers in advance of the meeting because the city council basically had to be polled, and that's under the Brown Act, which you would say a serial meeting violation. Is that just something? Number two, with respect to all of these competing interests, it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. The number one thing that everybody needs in order to do anything is to have a roof over their heads. A home is central. I don't care what program you put kids in, if they're homeless, it is very, very difficult. And I don't know how many kids in the PAL program are homeless, but I'm not saying anything negative about the PAL program, but let's put this in perspective, because homes are number one. And just the other day when we had that, Cabrillo had the session, we had over 1,800 families, and a lot of those families were homeless, signing up, standing in line just for an application for like 60 units. So, I mean, that's an issue. Now, I have some good news for you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to redistribute $200,000. Because in the research I did after the meeting, the allocation or the recommendation for the allocation for code enforcement, I believe, is an ineligible activity. And the reason for this is in terms of defining the criteria for deterioration or deteriorated. CDBG funds may be used for code enforcement only in deteriorating or deteriorated areas where such code enforcement, together with public or private improvement, rehabilitation, or services to be provided, may be expected to arrest the decline of the area. We have not had any kind of a discussion about using code enforcement in the manner that it needs to be used to be eligible under the CDBG. So if we go ahead and give this money and it's spent by code and we haven't covered our tracks, we're going to have another audit here. We're going to have to replace money. You know, eventually they're going to start coming back asking, hey, give the money back, Oxnard, if you're not spending it correctly. We don't have the money. You know, everyone talks about how tight we are. We don't have the money for the second half of the code enforcement program we would have to have in order to make it an eligible activity. So I think you got all these people, got all these problems. You got $200,000 that you can figure out who should get more or be funded. Because I don't think the code is eligible.
Thank you very much. Ms. Laura Roberts, please.
Good evening. My name is Laura Roberts. I'm a program manager with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and I'm also part of our Oxnard Service Providers Group, and we try to meet the needs of the homeless, along with a lot of other community partners. And I would just like to say that we have discussed this issue, and we do believe that there are sufficient monies available to make sure that Community Action can receive all the CDBG funds requested. And closing that transition center is going to create a huge gap in homeless services. A huge gap. It's not being done by any other agency in your city. So it's a really critical need that's being asked. We also would like to see Pacific Clinics and Food Share receive the funds that they have requested as well. The Pacific Clinics, the $52,000 will support an outreach worker who will target homeless youth 18 to 24, and we believe this position will benefit the homeless collaborative as a whole. Lastly, I would just like to say that I appreciate your time and all of the research that you've done and all of the volunteer hours that you put in, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more speakers? Going once, going twice. So, okay. Well, after public comments, we'll go into C, which is general business. And the subject matter will be discussion and joint recommendation to the City Council for the allocation of the CDBG funds of the annual action plan for fiscal year 2014 to 2015. Now, as far as what I just said, as far as I need to go right now we're going to put it in your hands. Do you want us to open up speakers up here on the commission at all, or get no tired?
Well, if there's any member of the public that would like to speak on this item, I believe most of the members of the public already spoke, but you could give the public an additional opportunity. If there are no members of the public, you can discuss the particular item jointly. If either commission wants to make a recommendation to council, my recommendation would be for that commission to do that separately.
Okay, let me check first. I know you did have one for C1. Would you like to speak again?
Well, I was just, that was the agenda item.
Okay.
You know,
Any other?
Yeah, and a special meeting.
Any audience like to speak on this?
I need a question of clarification. I don't know who would ask. Hello, am I on? I need a point of clarification. Are we only talking about the service provider funding, or are we talking about both pots of money, service provider and the program improvements? I need clarification on which pot these two commissions will be making the decisions on this evening.
So members of the Commission on Recreation and Homeless, the direction that staff received was for the commission to make recommendations on the CDBG funds. What I am saying, and you can certainly do what you choose to, is that public services is the pot of money that you are focused on. But if you believe that you should be looking at administration as well as direct services, you certainly can look at that. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilkins, now for the monies of the direct services, that doesn't affect any of the programs that both of these commissions are here vying for tonight, correct?
That is correct.
I'm just saying to save time, since we're only focused on one pot, that should be the energy and effort, just the pot that affects the two groups.
Yes.
And that's what I'm requesting we just kind of focus on, want to ask for clarification.
That's perfectly fine with this side of the group, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. I'd like to say a few things.
Some logistics over here.
There's been a lot of discussion this evening in regard to needs and wants. I think that what it comes down to is the unmet needs of our community. I do understand that neither one of these groups, either the parks or homeless services, we are saying here that is less important than the other. They're both important to our community. I had a very good discussion with Terrell, and we came to an understanding that we serve, some of the people that he serves are the same people, the same clients we serve. We are saying that by that, I'm saying you serve the young youth of our city. We're serving the parents, okay? Without food, they're going to be at risk of becoming homeless. If they have to spend more money on food, they're going to be at risk of becoming homeless. Then what's going to happen to that child? You know, if community action closes down for lack of funds, and they do not get the $80,000, I am going to tell you that all those people that go to that day center, all those homeless individuals will be at our downtown Plaza Park, and it will cause chaos in our city. We don't want everybody homeless in our city. We feel that if we could find a way to collaborate together, to have a good understanding, to come to the table. I am so grateful for this opportunity here, because it is bringing for the first time two CAGs together to do the work that we are appointed to do by council, to be able to go back and make some good recommendations together. We're not always going to get what we want, but the need is there. The need is so important to our community. I am not saying don't give to PAL. I'm just saying don't give to PAL, the Colonia Gym, and the gymnasium and the boxing. I'm saying give it to them out of the general fund or Measure O. They're already funding them. $11 million that they've received from 2011, 12, 13, and up to now 14. They have received $11 million. What's another part of that money? I don't think we're being greedy here. It's just doing what is right for our community. We want everybody to be safe. And by that, I'm saying that if we do not support these things, our city will not be safe. I guarantee you that. Thank you.
Thank you. I got a couple questions. I can give to my commissioner first, but I want to know, do we have numbers? Do we have numbers on homelessness in Oxnard? And of them numbers, do we know how many of them are children? Do we have a certain number? I'll use the phrase a ballpark figure. Do we have numbers?
Members of both commissions, my name is Ronald Owens. I work in the homeless programs. There is a requirement from the Housing and Urban Development Department to do a homeless count. To do a homeless count each year. Can you hear me now? Thank you. And that count is done usually the last Tuesday in January of each year. That count has been done for this year. It has not been finalized, but there's something that everyone needs to understand. That is called a point in time count for a reason. It only looks at who was homeless on a given day. It does not assess how many people are homeless throughout the year. That particular count, trying to get a handle on that count, requires that we look at what are called the annual performance reports that are prepared by the agencies who are funded with federal money, and those numbers come out at the end of the city's fiscal year. So those numbers have not been tallied yet. So there are, and there are some efforts to try to capture the homeless by age.
So, okay, I understand that, but just say last year, you remember last January, the number of children that were homeless? Is there any way to get that count?
Yes, it's online.
Okay, I'm speaking to the lady, so if you would please, thank you. Yes, sir, please come up to me. Thank you, Ms. Moore.
This is a preliminary report, and it's not finalized, as normally indicated. But for that point-in-time count, the number that I have is 467. Would that be correct? No. Oh, the winter warming shelter, okay, my fault.
Good evening, members of both commissions. I'm Carol Shulkin. I manage the Homeless Services Program for the County of Ventura Human Services Agency, and our central office is here in Oxnard. And I can share with you the count from this year. The countywide count was 1,774 homeless persons that were found on one day throughout the county. So in no way is that a comprehensive count, and statistically they say across the nation you should multiply the people found on one day by 4. So multiply 1,774 by 4, and you have an approximate number of the people throughout the county that are homeless on one day. Of that number this year, 645 people were identifying Oxnard as their home city. So that gives you a beginning figure, 645 times 4, 2,400, 3,000 people in the course of a year are homeless in Oxnard. And I can say to you as a person that's worked on this issue for nearly 20 years now, that's a conservative count because it's only the people that could be found. And many people choose not to be counted that day because we ask very personal questions, and it's very understandable. So I hope that's helpful to you. I can tell you from my program, in just the first 7 months of this year, we served in the city of Oxnard 98 households, consisting of 254 people, and those included 134 minor children.
Okay. So out of that 645,
Yes,
ballpark figure, how many of them are kids that are under the age of 18?
about 60.
Okay, so times 4. I'm looking, okay.
Right.
I'm just trying, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to get at the ballpark. A lot of us, everyone, I know it's a big deal on both sides. I want to look at the children, vice the parents, and then I want to look at the kids who use the gyms, vice the parents. So I'm looking at an idealistic number for the children. And the only way I can do that is to ask questions. So I can understand it. So if I do that times 4, I'm looking at the ballpark figure. That's just trying to get a figure. Thank you very much for your
Yeah, and the numbers are not exclusive, as Bonnie Waggle from Food Share said, that the children that go to PAL or who go to school or who are living in their cars may be the same children.
Understand. Thank you very much. And again, what I'm trying to get at, now I could ask the parks people, like whoever would like to answer this, could answer me this question. On a daily basis, how many people goes into your what everyone's price, how many people goes into there? And I'm talking about the dance classes and the mentorship or whatever, so just give me a ballpark figure is what I'm looking for.
Commissioners, Chairman Kopp, I have some figures here. I would like to call Julie Estrada.
Please.
Good evening, Commissioners. You're looking at the daily count for which facility?
Let's go strictly with the one that everyone seems to be not caring about or wanting to shut down and not care about. Let's just go with the Colonial Gym.
Okay, the Colonial Basketball Gym is a full-service facility, so it does have adult as well as youth programming going on. It serves approximately 25 individual persons annually. So on a daily basis, we're looking at, depending on what's going on that day, for example, if there's a league going on, our numbers will go up. But on a daily use, we are looking at around, the average would be about 200 people that go through that gym in a day.
Just in and out.
Just in and out for open gym play.
Now,
That does not include the actual program. There are, during seasons, for example, we take in the youth from the park and from the neighborhood and give them an organized activity for competitions. Those numbers will go up. Last season, for basketball alone, they had 80 kids strictly just in the youth sports for basketball.
So you got 200 and just as a ballpark figure, we're going to go 4 times the 60, so we're looking at 256. I'm just trying to get everyone the idea of how many kids go in and how many kids are that the homeless help out at the same time. It looks better in my mind if I can see numbers sometimes. I'm not that great with numbers, but I can see them. So, but that's what I'm trying to get at. And hopefully the rest of the commission will understand why I'm asking these numbers. Mike, just go ahead, please. I'm sorry. Don't worry about my end of this.
Thank you. I have a question, because, I mean, we're being courteous, and that's good and everything, but let's just cut to the ham and cheese. There's 6 programs that the Homeless Commission has on the list. There's 5 programs, I may have got that backwards, that the Parks and Recs would like, and there's 1 program that's mandated by both of us, whether we like it or not. The City of Oxnard, 30,000. We have to do that, it's mandated whether we want to or not. So that's already in the pot, it's a done deal. So we have to divide 300,000 between the 2 of us. Now, we have a couple programs here that we are fighting for, and you have a couple that are fighting for. And I have made a list, and the chair also has a list. And, based on the applications, based on HUD criteria, ensuring there's no duplication of services, making sure that T's are crossed, I's are dotted. And on some of the applications, after reviewing them, they're missing some information, and there's no way to amend it on our groups that are out here by. And what I had suggested, and you can tell me where to take it, or like it, or whatever, is, this is what I have suggested, is PAL, because last year they did receive 100,000 that they receive again, their funding. The City of Oxnard, 30,000 that is required. The Colonia Veterans Gym received what they got last year, which was 50,000, not the 100. The boxing would be considered a duplication of the gym, just based on the HUD criteria. So it'd have to be one or the other. And you guys seem to be more passionate about the gym, because it obviously services more kids and offers more services. When you say that you were talking about PAL?
Both PAL and the Colonia Veterans Gym. Winter warming shelter of 45,000, community action of 80,000, and rain of 25,000.
What's the range?
RAIN program is a transitional housing for people.
I got it in a transitional house.
Yeah, it's a transitional facility. And it's 50-50. Nobody's happy, but it's the middle of the road. Because it's not
We're gonna be down there and it's gonna be like Game of Thrones or something by the end of the night.
You do go over that.
Sure, I had suggested PAL receive their previous fund of $100,000. That's what they got last year. The city of Oxnard requirement of $30,000. The Colonia gym, the veterans gym, not the boxing, of $50,000. The winter shelter of $45,000, that's what they requested. Community action at $80,000, that is what they requested. And the rain at $25,000. I would have liked to have given it to food share, but the problem was on the application, HUD requires that there's income records and income verification done. On their application, it says food share does not identify or measure participants at risk. And it's kind of one of the requirements that our service providers have to do. They have to do an intake and information like that. If not, really not even all on that food share. But because of that, and we have to have the records, we have to have the intake, and they have to be the low income, and we have to verify that they're Oxnard residents, people that live in the city that are of low income that are verified. And because of that line there on item 4, part C, they don't do that. That's their policy. And that would be my only reason for giving rain as opposed to food share. For no other reason than that. If not, I would suggest food share. But with the rain, but that would be my only, that's my only hiccup. I mean, I wish I could, but they don't keep records. Well, on the application list. And that's a requirement.
Okay, ask you a question. Evidently, some of us got more information than a lot of others got. And evidently, you got a lot more, or you learned a lot more. Some of us didn't dig that far. Because I couldn't. But the 80,000 for
Community action.
the gentleman, yeah. Is that his low number?
That's the application number.
That's what they asked for?
That's what they asked for because they are trying to do a year-round facility. And what they will do is be a one-stop. So if, let's say, Pal Jim calls and says, hey, we've got some loiterers out here, Oxnard Police can pick them up and will be able to take them to community action. And they could stay there if it's after hours, or they can get them services or connected to the county social workers or to some of the service providers. There would be somewhere to go now, as opposed to now, there's nowhere for them to go.
Thank you. The reason I'm asking that is, you speak of the food share, and I know food share is a huge help in Ventura County. I know they got clean trucks coming. My kids at Santa Clara go wash them every other week. I know they're clean. But what I'm asking is you say that there were some problems with their
The application. Yeah, because the requirement is.
So did that kill that application because it's incorrect, or?
That's a them question. That's a normal in the city attorney.
Did you answer that question? She said there was some problems with the application. Is that nil? That all right off the bat, or?
The difficulty is in either verifying by an activity in a low and moderate income area or verifying by clientele. And when you're verifying by clientele, you need to be able to verify that they are actually of low and moderate income. So there's some concern about whether that information would be gathered and be available.
Okay, that answers my question.
Can Bonnie answer that question?
Yes, please do.
Again, this is only a suggestion, this is not.
All right. This is going to be one big suggestion.
I promise to make it short and sweet. And again, I think it's important to recognize Kuchar is that partner in homelessness prevention. I think we all understand that.
Yes.
Specifically, the requirements on the reporting, it's either being able to verify that it is in a neighborhood and community of need, or the exact number, or I should say the intake to actually verify that. And I think all of you know the Food Share program. We never sell our food. Everybody is served, so you don't have to be baptized, you don't have to be a political party. If you are going to come and stand in line for food for 2 hours, you're definitely in need. It is part of our service that we do, that we do not ask for income verification. If you're hungry, here's your food. And that is the same with our partners that provide that food. That said, the Mobile Community Center is going specifically into high areas of need that have been designated through a larger collaborative grant. They're called food deserts. So we already know these specific areas that we're going into with the funding that we've asked with this grant application. It's exactly where we're going and we'll be able to verify that. Now that said, one last thing, we have a very holistic approach here. We work with 180 non-for-profit partners, the majority of those in Oxnard. If the commissions, I guess that would be the proper way to say it, feel that there is a better place to place that money, we're okay. We're still going to work with them. And so I want to be clear about that. We are more than supportive of every organization, and most importantly, we understand our place in homelessness prevention. So hopefully that gives you the information you were looking for.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, if I may, my next question is, I'm going to ask Mr. Terrell. Question about your PAL, the 100,000. Give me a highlight. What's that going to put you at if that's all you get, or is that all we're asking for as far as for your PAL?
Chairman Cobb, commissioners, the recommendation, I believe, was 79,000. We requested 100. And then the recommendation for the gymnasium was 50, and there was none for the Colonial Boxing Gym.
Yeah, because it would be duplication of the gym, of the Colonial gym. Just based on the regulations of that I understand about it. That's all.
The Colonial, just to bring some understanding to both commissions, if they are unaware, the Colonial Boxing Gym is at a whole separate facility.
Yes.
But still located in Colonia, but still deals with a different type of clientele. So what my suggestion would be is moving forward with the recommendations, because it's two different populations and two different types of people. The gym serving youth as well as adults. The gymnasium is more youth-oriented. And if you take the amount of the 100,000, which the recommendation originally was 79,000, and you replace that in Laconia Boxing Gym, it would essentially put it about the same. So, and what that would do is, for the Powell Gymnasium, I don't know what currently right now.
Excuse me for a minute. Let's give the people their time to speak. I'm not trying to be rude, but I listened to two different, so if you don't like to, then we can talk all we like. Please.
Currently right now, the Powell Gymnasium was funded at, I believe it was 123,000. The cut, as suggested, originally would be about $43,000, $44,000. What services we would have to cut or scale back? We're still working because we're trying to see what we can do with what we have and maximize that. That being said, an overall approach and spreading out the funding for those programs, because I mean, if we have after-school programs, we have the Powell Gymnasium, we have the Colonia Boxing, we have the Colonia Gymnasium, which are all, I believe, just as very vital. So I know that really doesn't answer your question as well, but
I have a question, because you talk about the tutoring and after-school services. I know you guys work in conjunction with the school. My question is, why are you not receiving the $732,000 out of Title I money from Oxnard School District? Why are you doing it out of other funding when the Oxnard School District has $732,000 available for funding for after-school and tutoring programs? I don't understand why you're not pulling from there, since that's the clientele you're servicing, as to opposed to here. I'm just giving, just put it out there.
okay, let me have Sophia Baltimore.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening. I would be happy to answer that question. When it comes to the CDBG funding for the after-school programs, the after-school programs for about 15 years have received CDBG funding, and this was part of the original 15% that was set aside about 15 years now. And so since that time, we have received those CDBG funds about $15,000 15 years ago, and we're receiving the same amount of monies. Now, when it comes to the Title I monies, we don't have access to those dollars. If we were to have access to those dollars, we would probably need to talk to the Oxnard School District about that. However, what we do with this $15,000 that we receive from CDBG is to use them as a match for the ACES grant that the district receives. So they receive a $2 million grant to serve about 2,200 kids a day. And so and again, we provide them from, the special enrichment, math, art, and we provide them with folklorico music, film, photography, and technology programming. So again, when it comes to the Title I monies, I have a feeling that that's actually going to change. I know that they're looking at budgeting the local schools differently now, and that may be done. Something called the LCAPs.
Yeah, no, that money is specifically for that, and for the last 5 years, they have not maximized that $743,000. I was just at their board meeting, and it was not a pretty conversation. The problem is, they're bringing outside providers to do exactly what you guys do. You guys are doing the services, and these outside providers are getting the money. I had asked the question, why weren't they funding these programs? The response was, nobody asked. I don't know how much truth there is to that, or maybe at one point in time, you did ask, they said no, and no one ever asked again. I don't know, I'm just suggesting that as an alternative, since you guys are in the schools providing the tutoring and the after-school care and the food and everything else, that funding should come from the school that's receiving the service, because you're providing the service to the low-income and needy children. The free lunch and the reduced lunch children. Right. That's exactly who that money is designated to go for that service. So it's just, something to look at, since we are so tight with the cash.
I think that that's definitely a place and a source that I will look into it, but I also need you to understand that when it comes to some of the eligibility requirements that the district has, they may be different.
And no, it's under local control funding now, so the LCCF or something like that. So they would actually be able to designate that 743 and divide it amongst the schools that are receiving your services. Yeah, with Dr. Morales and I already went these routes. So, yeah.
May I ask what meeting that was?
This is a school board meeting. They were going through, and the question I had raised was, they're spending all this money, what's the measurement for the after school? What's the measurement of this service provider? Is the kid getting any smarter or not? They weren't able to answer, and that's when I said, well, why aren't you putting the money into the Parks and Recs programs at the schools? And everyone just looked at me like lobsters were coming out or something. And it's just, obviously at some point there may have been communication, but now obviously there isn't in regards to the funding, and I think that conversation needs to be having here.
And we've had ongoing communications and meetings with the Oxnard School District about our budgets for 14-15, and we are going to come to council soon with a contract for next year, and those particular funds have not been made available to us, and we have been talking about expanding the program. So if they're not putting those out there, there may be a reason, because we may may not qualify, or the program may not qualify. So,
Let me ask a question, and then, I don't know if this is to the, who in our city is supposed to look up these grants, tuitions, free money that's supposed to be given to us? Is that, can you answer that to me, Mr. Person? Because evidently what it sounds like from, I forgot your name, Ms. Francine, is someone here dropping the ball. And I don't know who's bouncing it, but it's not bouncing the right way. So who in the city is supposed to look to that for that money?
Chairman Cobb, members of the commission, I'm Martin Erickson, one of the deputy city managers in the city. Staff will certainly look into this, but I can say historically, the school district, like the cities, has faced funding challenges. It's quite likely this money may be incorporated into another part of the district's budget, or historically has been, if in fact is eligible in the first place. So I would ask that we do a little more, let staff do a little research on that. But I will tell you, historically, whether it's transportation, monies, or even the whole issue of the recent dissolution of the redevelopment agencies, monies that were used by the school district and offered by cities or other special districts, there's been keen competition over them. And in many cases, funding that was once available has been reduced and then has been replaced by other sources of funding. I know the school district's budget, for those of you who sat on the education committees, can become quite complicated also. But I wouldn't describe anything as large pots of unavailable money that's sitting out there. If that is the case, that would be wonderful. But certainly I think between recreation staff and all city staff, we're constantly looking for available funding. In many cases, if it's a matter of taking it from another agency, that becomes a little bit more of a difficult process since they have their own board, their own governing agency. But certainly money that we are eligible for and is made available in a competitive process, we will aggressively go after and have continue to do that. But I do appreciate the commissioner bringing that up, and we certainly will look into that, provide an update to the next part of the recreation committee meeting, as well as the next homeless commission meeting and the city council.
I'm very grateful that she brought this up, because this is a moot point if you're looking at trying to send a recommendation to the city council. If we have money that we're not getting that we should get and we can get, that's going to relinquish all this bickering, because that's what it's going to come down to. You know, I want this and I want this. And so if there's that money there, she's saying is there's money, and or we should be using a little bit more general fund, because no one wants to, I mean, this 6 don't want to fight against that 7, you know. So if there's money there and we're not using the money or allowing them going out and getting the money that we should be getting, then we need to do that. Because like if this is the moot meeting, meaning that it's going to go to nil if we don't have a resolution or at least a recommendation. So the money that's out there, if we haven't went to look for it, well, I cannot sit here as the chairman of the Parks Board and ask any of these commissioners to vote one way or not, or send a reasonable recommendation if we haven't venued all the options. I mean, Ms. Bonnie just left, okay, she's a good lady. I'd like to give her money. I don't want to send them out for nothing. I want Terrell to get his money, and I want this commission to get their money. But if we don't get what we can get when we can get it, you know, we're just, like you said, we're just throwing it in the trash can. So if it's out there, and she says it was, then on that next educational board meeting, I'd like to attend if I can know what it is. But I'm like, you know, I can't sit here and say, well, I'm going to vote this way or I'm going to vote that way. Because unless I get the full picture, which I haven't got, I don't think anyone else has got the whole full picture, that we're sitting here just, you know, like I said, I don't want to start bickering because, you know, I think they want to get their own. I don't want no one homeless. But then again, I want to see all these gyms open too, because that's what we as a commission fight for, and they're fighting for the same thing. So you just said a minute ago, we need to go back and look at that harder. But the city council is expecting us to send them a recommendation for June 3rd, if I'm not correct, if I'm incorrect. Is that true, sir?
I think that they're looking for input.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys don't make sort of recommendation tonight, then, like you said, this whole exercise is kind of pointless.
I won't use pointless because we're meeting a lot of people that we haven't used before, and that's good. And I like the bigger commissions because you get a little bit more stuff done. But I would like to ask the commission on this side, which is parks, if you have any inputs or insights. You know, Mr. Patrick Pinker's been here since Oxnard was here, so, I mean, he's been around for a long time. And this gentleman right here, Mr. Garcia, they've been in this city, you know, their whole life. And Paul, and I'm the baby, I've only been here 20 years. But the 20 years I have been here, I've been on this commission for 12, and I enjoy it, but I want to see everyone get what they need. And we need to find out, we need to make a recommendation, at least to your staff, that we need to go out and look and see if what Ms. Fencing said is a viable solution. Because that's going to relinquish a lot of money, that's going to relinquish a lot of, we don't have to worry about it. We'll give that money that's due to the parks or whatever, and we don't have to take out this pool. So, trying to hit in the middle and be peaceful, if you understand. So, I don't know if we have to, I'll let you talk a second, but I don't know if we have to make a recommendation to the city to say, hey, we need more time. This is not going to be done in one night, because we just got this information. I'll let you quit, sir.
Thanks. A question that I haven't heard answered yet. Barbara McRae-Ortiz brought up the issue of the code enforcement funding from the CDBG funds, and I'm just wondering, was she correct? Was that funding, was that misallocated?
Code compliance is an eligible activity under CDBG. In the city of Oxnard, code compliance funding, the funding is used to do code compliance in only the low and moderate income areas. The city has funded this function for quite a few years, and it has never been questioned by us as being eligible. So I have to disagree. Also, too, though, just so everyone's on the same page, the amount of funding for code compliance is coming from a category that really is not under discussion in this arena. It is under the capital improvement direct benefit. So not funding code compliance would not assist in your decision-making tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, that takes one thing off the table. Sir?
I just wanted to clarify again that one of the commissioners brought up the point where she thought some money was available. I don't believe there's anyone from the school.
No, I had requested Dr. Morales, the superintendent, and one or two trustees to attend, because I've been going through their budgets extensively for reasons. And this funding I have questioned twice on, and questioned on where they were spending it. And they says this money has to be spent on tutoring and after-school activities. And I says, well, why aren't we spending it with the city? They do the after-school programs. Why are we spending it on outside companies that come up from LA that don't teach the kids, and they're not giving us a measurement on the standards and ensuring that what they're telling us these kids have learned, because the teachers were reporting something else. They're saying this kid's reading another grade level. The teacher's like, no, he's not. You know, there was that debate going on for quite a while. And I've asked again about those monies and that it come to the city. Since the city's doing it, this way each school would control the program with Parks and Recs. So if Brecky School is working on pre-algebra, then they would ensure that with Parks and Recs that those kids are learning pre-algebra. If that's what they need for their standards, if that's what they need to come out of a program improvement school, then that's what they would work directly with these programs to say, this is what we need to get our kids, we need them here. They would mark the benchmarks, they would turn in reports saying, okay, our workers are getting them here, working with the teachers. There would be more of a collaborative effort. And I've stressed it with the school board twice already, and I've mentioned it when they were, this funding was here last time on the public hearing for CDBG. I said, why aren't you guys at the school board asking them for the money? They said, we don't know. And that's why I've raised the question. If this funding is for school programs, for city kids that are in the low and very low income, why aren't we asking the schools? Why aren't you guys there on Wednesday night saying, hey, what's What's up?
Sir, I got a question for you. Who do we have to make a recommendation to for one of our city attorneys slash financial people to go to this meeting and ask these questions for us?
Well, I think one point that I would suggest right now, again, I think the point of tonight's meeting was to evaluate the current staff recommendation before the city council and for these, both your commissions to provide input to the council. Again, the school district is under a separate government authority, and recently the city council has formed an education committee comprised of the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, and they are having monthly meetings. It's maybe an appropriate issue to discuss in that capacity. But I think as Ms. Calderon mentioned recently, we have a partnership with the school district, a multi-million-dollar grant, the ACES grant, which a portion of the match is covered by CDBG. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear that we are doing that.
Yeah. No, this
Whether
is
there are
other-
other,
yeah.
I mean, I think of the question of the money the city has lost, some of the other agencies have lost, just the redevelopment pool, those are all fair questions, but I don't think they're relevant to tonight's, what's on tonight's agenda, what's being discussed tonight, based on the timelines. And I'll let your staff, Ms. Valderrama, clarify. But I would say that for the most part, staff is always looking for opportunities for funding to the point of called beneficial tension between agencies where there's a limited amount of money going around. We certainly are always trying to find the most for Oxnard services to benefit Oxnard residents.
I think that obviously we know that the collaboration between the school district and the city would be a great cooperation for this funding if we could receive it. If we don't ask, if we don't apply, we'll never know. There are a lot of money out there that we don't apply, that's way above our scope. But if we hear about something and it needs to be applied for, then who do we turn to? Our grants manager, or who do we need to know those things in order to be able to go out there and try to get some more money. I feel that in regard to food share, I think we need to get clarification from HUD in regard to that, because I really believe that food share does keep very good records. I mean, they've been in business a long time and they feed a lot of people, and I just don't see that they do not comply with the standards of HUD. They get funding from all I spoke to Bonnie, and she says she gets funding from all the cities, the surrounding cities except Oxnard, and she has not been able to get funding from our city. So I would want my recommendations that I think that are important for our city are community action, Take Center, and also food share. I think that I've already said that the funding, that the general fund and Measure O have been already supporting their recreation department with $11 million. I mean, we have the proof here, it's on paper. I got it from the finance department. And it's not a whole lot of money more that they could possibly put into the pot. But, you know, it's like, we don't want anybody to lose out here, but we definitely want the need to be met for the people that are homeless. And so we don't want to seem like we're trying to be heartless and take money away from the programs that do need it, because every program is important to us. But we have a big need, and I'm just concerned for the safety of our community, that if we do not fund, especially community action, we are going to be in trouble. I tell you, we are going to be in big trouble, because we are going to have wall-to-wall homeless people downtown Oxnard.
I'd like to emphasize that too, especially since apparently for the time being, our church isn't going to be able to do their thing in Ventura. We're going to be getting some of those people here. And so without the transition center there, you know, like it says, you're looking at having a park full of, with no place else to go. They're just hanging out there.
If I could say one
Yes,
more.
please.
You know, we have Oxnard Police Task Force that is in place right now. It is making tremendous efforts to really work in downtown, and they've had a very, very good success in the 4 months that they've been in business. What I say is that we need, in order to make a difference in our community, and we've brought this up since last year, that we need the ordinances to be enforced in our city. We need to send a message to those homeless people that think that we're just going to let them hang their hats here in our city. That's not what we want to do. We want to have services attached to homeless programs, because without services, it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid over a wound that does not work. And so I am saying that we need to collaborate together, and I think this is possible. I think it's possible for us to come to some kind of agreement. Maybe it might not be tonight, but I think we can come to agreement on this real soon.
Don't we have to come to an agreement tonight then?
We just need to make a recommendation, not an agreement. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
My name is Juliet, and I'm the grants coordinator for the 3 intergovernmental grants that you are looking into. And I want to answer the question that the chairperson, Mrs. Rivera, asking about the food share eligibility. We don't need to go to her to ask for that, because the fact that we staff did not recommend to fund that food share doesn't mean that it's not eligible. It is eligible. It's because we don't have enough resources, so we have to choose what project that we think that is high priority. That's why we didn't fund food share, but does not mean that it's not eligible. It is eligible. Okay?
Excuse me. Then, with that being said, I would make a recommendation that we would not fund WEAP. And we would, that we would not fund WEAP, Women's Economic Development.
No, that's nothing to do with
It's
RAIN.
RAIN food share.
RAIN, we would give to food share instead of RAIN.
Remember, RAIN is for homeless children. This is the child care for the homeless children.
Yes, but last year they had 80 participants in the program that they funded. This year they went down to 40, because next year they're not going to be receiving any money from the COC, if I stand corrected on that, Kathy.
We don't know.
But there's a possibility of that happening. And so I would say that I think that it's only fair then, and because they do have their own funding sources. And I think that food share should be, if they're eligible, they should get some money.
Kathy? Or, so, Carol, thank you. It's a long day. We have a question of clarification.
We'll try.
Besides the COC and CDBG, what other fundings does RAIN have to continue their program?
Well, they do fundraising, like many programs that serve the disadvantaged population. Actually, the County of Ventura gives money from their general fund to serve people because they believe in the importance of those who are highest at risk. So I think those are the 2 major other sources.
So if they don't, so they may or may not receive the COC, but if they don't receive CDBG, that would be a significant impact to their functioning and servicing Oxnard residents, correct?
I did inquire about that specific question today, and if these funds aren't provided for that program to provide child care for, these are homeless parents that are going off to work, then the child care program would stop. There is no other source of funds identified.
And then for food share, they're able to fund through outside sources the majority of their clientele that they service, correct? The 50,000 won't make or break them, correct?
That's what she said.
Yeah. For
Ms.
food
Mama
share,
said, she said that they will keep on going.
yeah, so it won't make or break them, so.
They have 189 people, or
So then
Let me ask, the commission on the Parks and Rec, does anyone have anything to speak of?
I just have a question. The amount that we need to make everybody whole. Anybody have the numbers? Microphone.
That's what I gave earlier, Commissioner, but he's asking what they need to, that's your recommendation. To make them whole. Okay. To keep them whole, yeah, to keep them whole, but I have, that's not included. So food share would be the only one that would be sacrificed on our side, and the colonial boxing would be sacrificed on their side. But for the majority.
As we stand now, not making a change.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
$437,000.
That's the total.
That's the total recommended
everybody
just
whole.
before. And we only got $330 to play with. So cutting it down, both sides lose one, and then we have to limitly fund the ones that reach, that have the most need based on what we're saying.
So you're saying that Rain had talked of 50,000?
They had requested, but they would get 25.
And how about the Columbia gym, the boxing gym?
The boxing would not, it would be the PAL of 100, PAL 100, and the Colonia Veterans Gym at 50. And the boxing would be the one that would lose out, as food share here would lose out, on our side of the spectrum.
And how much is that, the boxing gym? What's that take to run, Terrell? I know what you recommend to do, what you're looking at, but.
I'm going to have Julie come up. She has the budget in front of her
Okay.
for boxing.
For the, good evening, again, Commissioners. For the current fiscal year that we're in, we did receive $17,000 through CDBG, and we have an additional $33,000 that is funded through our general fund. It does take 100% of those funds to provide the services to the high-risk youth in that neighborhood.
So you said 18 and 33?
17 and 30.
17 and 33, okay.
And just a comment, you said Colonial Boxing Gym, but that does not just cover Colonia, that's the entire city.
It is open to all participants, the immediate service area. Most of the participants do come from the immediate neighborhood though, but it is open to the city.
It's just because they asked for the least amount out of the pots of money that was coming from your side. They asked, I think it was 24,000 they requested, and everybody else, the Veterans Gym had asked for 100, Cal had asked for 100, and the boxing was the least amount of the 24, because they have general funding and other funding that they have, as opposed to Cal and the Veterans Gym. They need this money.
But here it says it recommended 20,000 and requested 28,000.
And it was somewhere in that 20.
Is that correct? That's what I'm reading here. Okay.
Yeah, isn't that correct?
Okay. Question for you, Mr. Rowe. It's all about dollar figures. It's all about. Okay, just 1 second. You're talking about putting, here's what we're talking about, and everyone's heard the expression, rob Peter to pay Paul. And that's what I'm gonna ask you. All your numbers here, we want to keep everything open. Is there any way that can work out? If we do not fund the Colonial Boxing Gym, how's that gonna be funded?
Chairman Cobb, Commissioners, again, everything that we use for the Colonial Boxing Gym is utilized to keep the gym open. So, if you're asking me how would we keep the Colonial Boxing Gym open, I do not know right now.
I think we need to look at, I think we need to look at the benefits that the gym provided to the city and the recognition that it received over the years before we think about closing it and not being funded. If you look at it, think about history, we have spoken in 77. And from that, we had 4 world champions out of there and 3 Olympians. And it's been a good place for the city and for the kids to come. The program was started to get the kids out of the streets and into a closed system. Teach them the benefit, not those street games.
Chairman Cobb, Chairman Rivera, Commissioners, and where the real benefit is exactly as Commissioner Peter said, the real benefit is keeping the kids out of trouble, giving them a place to go. You know, the great side note is the Olympians, the great side note is the professionals, but the real success stories are the success stories of the kids who are participating in there, keeping safe, staying out of trouble, learning how to become productive.
And consider the #1 amateur boxing program in the country.
Before you, the reason why I was getting in, and I'm not asking you a question, I know we have a great boxing venue here already in our city, and as for you know, because you're helping a great deal. We do have a Jesus come in there. We have an excellent boxing matches. Just last year we had 560 some matches for a big tournament here, and a lot of that comes from the Colony Gymnasium, which we know, and outlying states, not just Oxnard. So what I was trying to find out is, you know, like again, I want numbers in match. Somehow we're going to make it, somehow it's going to happen, but I wanted to find out from Mr. Terrell, because he oversees a lot of this stuff. He knows, and these two know more about it than that, because he was in the boxing gym in Open. I'm trying to get history, and that's the only way I can get it is to ask certain questions. And go ahead, Ms.
I know that, Terrell's talking about the success rate, but we have also had in our homeless population, we have had a lot of good successful rates with the work that we've done. The service providers have done excellent work, and they have really helped change people's lives. So we can't leave that off to the wayside and think that those individuals are not getting services and not getting help and changing their life for the better and going back on track to just having an ordinary life. It works both ways. One is, this is very difficult for us. We can try to juggle the numbers here all we want. That's not our job. Our job is to tell you what the need is, to make sure that there's an understanding here. And it's the job of the city council and city to go out there and find the money.
Yeah, but I understand that. But if we go and just tell the city council, say, here's our recommendation, make it happen.
Well, then maybe what we can do.
So I'm saying we have to come to something.
Okay, maybe what we can do is that we can go back, we can not make our recommendation tonight. We will make our recommendation, and maybe we could have another special meeting, and we will attach some ideas of where they can get that money from. If we will look better into the.
I have a question for Mr. Erickson. Would the Colonia boxing gym for the $20,000 that staff has recommended, would they qualify under Boomerang, or would they qualify under Measure O to cover the shortfall for the services needed there?
When you say the Boomerang funding, you're referring to-
Because of the redevelopment agency funding, the taxes that are coming in.
Just to put that in context too, the city is not a net gainer from that, because that's funding that's taken away from the cities.
Okay.
The funding that's coming back from the other agencies, in many cases the county or the school district, it's more of I'd say a Boomerang funding for them. We do get a small amount back, but the amount we're losing overall is much larger. So I'm not really sure if Boomerang would even be eligible. Measure O certainly could be. That is
Being
a general purpose sales tax.
It's a small amount compared to the other amounts that requested, and that way we're not spending so much time on that. We understand it's important. It's been there forever, for as long as I can remember. And I agree with Commissioner tinkered, you know, the importance and the significance it is to the history as a historical. But at the end of the day, we have to cut the hairs. At the end of the day, they sent us here to do a job, and it's a dirty, ugly job. And we're gonna see some ugly people tonight at the end of this, and no one's gonna go home happy, unfortunately. So we have to just, we've just gotta cut it, and, I'm not saying cut it, but what I'm saying, we need to just get into it. We have to make our sacrifices, and we have to figure out and recommend alternative funding for council to go to see if they can fill the shortfall. What we're saying is Measure O. That may be a viable option, or some other, or they increase the general funding that they give to it currently. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, these are options that we need to just put it on the list and tell them, here you go, thank you, goodbye, and we can be here till 2 o'clock in the morning at our next council meeting.
Maybe, Norma, do you have any suggestions of where the possibility of that money could come from? Or what could we use, where could we take it from?
I could not possibly come up with a suggestion at this moment, frankly. I think we'd have to do research. I'm not familiar with the eligibility requirements of different programs. So, I mean, I like the suggestion of the Measure O, frankly. But in terms of other grant funding, I could not answer at this time.
And if we jointly recommend, then we put more emphasis that we have collaborated and say, look, that was the purpose of Measure O. It was for shortfalls like this, and we're recommending both commissions to fund the shortfall through that, so that way they don't lose what they need. And everybody would win.
If the commission would allow me, both commissions, we just got a couple more people across, because anytime you hear them talking, of course, ideas pop in the head. So if you may, let me call up these three. And the first one would be Mr. Jakes. Mr. Duckett. Forgive me, I'm from the south, okay? Hawkins, I'm Oxnard. From the East Coast, please speak to them.
As a former park and rec commissioner, as a former high school board member, I've been asked to come tonight and hear some of these sad stories, and basically you need more money. Both of you need more money. There was some question about asking the Title I issues. That's from my days, and I'm sure they're still the same. You have a budget that's set up at the beginning of the year, and by the way, now is when they're setting up the budget for the next year. And so right now would be the time to see if you can make some inroads there. Title I teachers need special credentials and so forth and so on in order to be able to answer your question as to if they're learning anything, and they have to be taught by a highly qualified teacher. Those things that won't give you the money and so forth. Just before I forget, we're talking about $20,000 for the boxing situation. Well, we have Robert Garcia has a tremendous group of people that he trains here, and if someone were to approach him, I would, I mean, if I were one of you or had that standing, and ask him that, do you realize the amount of tax that they would pay on each one of their big bouts? For instance, one of his people fought Merriweather pretty soon, so they get X amount of money, but they got to pay taxes on that. They could donate $20,000 to the City of Oxnard boxing fund, and there you go. That takes care of it this year. You know, then you had to look. But that, I mean, they're going to give it to the government anyway. Why wouldn't they just donate it to us and they can take it off their income tax? That would be my way of thinking. And I'm just saying that another thing about, I've heard a bunch of reports that I had to make decisions on. You know what I'm hearing here tonight? You guys are talking about money, 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 but there's no real numbers. Because what I'm saying is, I don't know if the city's general fund number is good. They're going to have to spend some money that I don't know if everybody knows about. I'm not saying that. That's my opinion. So I guess I am saying it right. So my point is, and you're absolutely correct, this city has got to make more money, and they can make more money. For instance, why hasn't anybody gone over to Robert Garcia and say, hey, listen, help us out here. You put Oxnard in the back of the, you know, in the back of their trunks and stuff. That would be the first thing. Now, somebody should have thought of that, huh? You should have went to the city and said, hey, can you help us?
He's a product of Columbia. He's a product of Columbia Environmental Project Program.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. What was it?
Robert is a product of the Columbia Boxing Program.
And not only that, he was working at Channel Islands when I was on the board, and I ran across him, said hello and everything else. All the kids loved him when he was there. So I don't think it'd be very difficult to ask him paper to the city of Oxnard, where he's from. And let me tell you, folks, they make some money, right? And if they're giving it away, how hard would it be to donate to the city of Oxnard to keep that thing going? It's a tough job. You guys signed up for it. Maybe you'll think about it next time. But let me just say that the other thing that's really important is you guys are going to go to the city council and you're going to give them a recommendation someday somewhere. I don't know how you can do that without numbers, one. Number two, I know what you're saying as far as we need more money, and we just came up with 20,000, you know, to take care of this issue. And also that you guys, this is democracy. You got two commissions here, and two commissions are, and you're talking about Parks and Rec, and you're talking about homeless. It's the same taxpayer money that has to deal with it. And we're talking about Ventura. I just saw close their homeless situation because it was too divisive, as the paper said. But it's okay here. So if that's the case, why don't you send us your money, Ventura? We'll take care of it. Exactly. Give us some money. So that's just a couple of my thoughts, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roberts?
Hi. I just wanted to mention, it was mentioned in the beginning about the winter warming shelter. I just wanted to let you know that we are being funded through ESG for the 46, I think it was recommended 46 or something like that. So the CDBG, I think it was mentioned before also that if we didn't get one, we would get the other, and so we have got ESG. I just wanted to. We were recommended. I'm sorry. We haven't gotten anything.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Nora, but you didn't receive CDBG funding for this round. We weren't recommended for any, were you? Through the CDBG?
No, I thought I heard that earlier though from Francine.
Yeah, because I believe the need was, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wilkins, the need for the shelter from our part of it was 90, and I thought it was going to be 45 to fund. For this year, because I know it's their last year, right?
Winter warming shelter, St. Vincent de Paul, been recommended for 46,000. They asked for, I believe it was 90,000 under ESG, and they were recommended for 46,000.
Yes.
All right. Under CDBG, St. Vincent de Paul did not make a request. That's a staff request.
Oh, I see.
For the
Okay.
winter warming shelter.
Okay.
Okay.
This was good, yeah, for the shortfall on the other side, yeah. It was to cover the 90, that's fine.
Okay. We got one speaker, one last speaker, Mr. Ron Mulvihill. I can say that name.
Ron Mulvihill, Director of Housing for St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you for being here tonight, everyone. I wanted to make sure, because I didn't hear, but homeless services have very few pots that we've been able to apply for help from. And in the city of Oxnard, to my knowledge, none of those services have been ever given out of Measure O funds. A lot of the parks and recreations and other funds do come out of that. But this is the only pie that so far the city of Oxnard has allowed us to, or given funds from. So that should be appreciated. So out of that $11 million Measure and Recreations, even though it feels like a one against the other, with that being appreciated, this is the only fund side of the city that Homeless Services has traditionally received any funds. So I hope you appreciate that. And as well, a lot of St. Vincent de Paul's volunteers that are out in the community, they cooperate with Food Share, and the families that we see and the individuals that we see and the help that we help provide, we get that also from Food Share. So there's a big collaboration. So we do support the Homeless Commission. And in a way, from being at the City Council meeting when the ball was thrown into both of your laps, it was agreed to have a joint meeting. Each commission could still give a recommendation on their own if you don't come to one tonight. But it's also, it looks like, there's quite a bit of support staff for the parks and for your programs. And, I don't know that the Homeless Commission has the same support, or at least ability to understand or get the information when asked. So they've done a lot of digging on their own, and so I hope the Parks and Recreation can appreciate the need that they're asking for.
Thank you, sir. And just to add to his comment, we do appreciate it. I know you are very good at digging. I can see that, and I like that. I do appreciate that, because it has opened up my eyes a little bit more than I walked here at 5:30. But here's what we need to do. It's 7:30, and I know. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Michelle, I forgot you. Go ahead before I make my comments. Go ahead. Yes,
Sure.
okay.
Actually, two things. First of all, I appreciate commissions working together. I felt to begin with a little lost because I had known of this information before tonight. So in the future, it would be nice to have gotten this information before being dropped on. So, yeah, exactly. So with that though, because I think we're going to go round and round in circles, I would like to make a motion that we, between the two commissions, the $330,000, make an allocations as suggested for PAL, $100,000, the Colonia, $50,000, the Winter Warming Shelter, $45,000, CAP, $80,000, Lane, $25,000, and Oxnard, $30,000 for $330,000, and ask the City Council fund the shortfall for the PAL, $20,000 or whatever they can ask for this year, and then next year we will need to retool things and things because it is an appropriate use for measure of funds for PAL, and hopefully that will go for the boxing. So that would be my recommendation and motion to City Council.
Just a question, Mr. President. Could someone refresh our memories on who's qualified for the
I'm only a chairman, but I just got pay raised to president, so I like that. But thank you. We'll ask you to come up.
Certainly, again, Measure O is a general purpose half-cent sales tax. And broadly speaking, it can fund just about any city general purpose, from street repair, which much of it has been spent on, parks, public safety, police and fire, certainly the POW recreation is a use that can be used also. It's different from a type of sales tax funding that can only be spent on, say, transportation or public safety. Being general purpose, just about any city general purpose.
Homeless Services fall into that?
It would.
It would.
I think if you follow council meetings, I believe you have, lately the council has been focusing a lot on street repairs. And much money is also going on public safety. So, as I mentioned, when I come before council, it's a good problem to have. It's good to have this additional funding. It's a problem in terms of prioritizing. So I think council's grappled with
When the Measure O money was first established, I remember we lobbied for the funding and for the process, through the process, and we asked, would it be allowed to be used for homeless services? And they said absolutely. So I can't understand if we're short, what can they, since they fund so much for Parks and Rec, we're not asking for a whole lot. Why can't they fund the 100, it comes out to, I think, 312.07 for the 3 that we were asking for prior to it. That was even before Francine suggested this other. I think that if we don't give the Colonial Gym the 100,000, give them what the recommended, the recommendation was, and give them and see if we can get funding, or they can get funding for the rest of it from Measure O or from the general fund. Maybe that should be our recommendation.
Mr. Erickson, since Mr. Cameron is not here to ask this question, maybe you can. Now, Measure O has funded food share before. They fell short, I believe, 2 years ago or before Mayor Flynn had come, and $42,000 was allocated to food share, correct?
I believe that was included in one of the allocations. Council a few years ago decided to take a portion of Measure O and then make that available on a competitive basis for different organizations to apply for. So again, its purpose is quite general, and ultimately the city council determines how the money is spent.
So we could recommend that they go out of, that food share comes out of Measure O so that they can run their program as they see fit and not so much the dictated guidelines.
I checked with the city attorney, but I don't think there's anything stopping from recommending.
For purposes of this meeting, let's try to focus on CDBG, because that's how it was agendized. So in terms of your recommendation to council, let's focus on that pot of money. I mean, you're free at another meeting if you want to agendize, possibly making a recommendation with regards to another funding source. You're free to do that, but for purposes of tonight, let's just focus on CDBG.
Thank you. Okay, well, Mr. Lewis.
I was going to say, you have a motion? I don't know.
I have a question for you.
Well,
We
I'm
can't-
going to call a
we'll-
vote because I can't, but I was going to say there's not a second yet. You made the motion.
That for the Parks and Rec Commission, and so you have to have your own, or can we?
That is correct. So there is a motion on the floor for the Parks and Recreation
Then I
Commission.
second that. I second your motion. Now, discussion.
Would you mind rephrasing your motion so that
That we allocate $330,000 between the two commissions, $100,000 for PAL, $30,000 for City of Oxnard, $50,000 for Colonia Gym, Winter Warning Shelter 45, CAP 80,000, Rain 25,000, and the shortfall that the Cal Boxing had asked for be made up by Measure O, which is approximately 20,000 or whatever, approximately $20,000 for this fiscal year.
Chairman Cobb, Commissioners, to clarify the recommendation, you mean for the Colonia boxing program, not the PAL boxing program?
Which is recommended to get, how much, 79? Okay. That was you? Okay, that was the motion. Okay?
Now I don't know, if we are saying 100,000, but they're recommending 79,
Yes.
so if we go with the 79, I know this is, plug the other money into the Colonial boxing gym. That would be altering the amendment, but it would make an amendment to the motion.
Yes, I would accept that, that's fine. I would leave it to,
But I want to know how, I want to know also from Carol, that you run the PAL, would you live with that?
Chairman Cobb, Commissioners, that would be the recommendation, I believe, that Housing has recommended. If
The original motion.
The original recommendation from housing, I believe,